Welcome to Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. It's a Tuesday. I think it's February, and it's early.
It's March.
It's March.
It's March 7th.
Oh wow! See what happens? You go to Baja for a week, and time stops and everything changes. My name is Jimmy Lewis. I am the co-host of the show, not actually the host, because I don't know why. But I have a co-host guest tonight, super special guest. This is mostly the reason we're on early, although I might start going to bed earlier too. I just think it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, I go to bed fairly early.
Right? I think I woke Matt up from his nap and said, you got to get here early today. You did sound groggy.
I have been having a hard time sleeping lately.
Okay. Well, you can't play video games all night, Matt.
I don't.
Is bad.
I don't play video games at all these days.
Oh, you have a girlfriend now.
I do not have a girlfriend.
Okay. Anyways, my co-host, my guest, Spencer Bloomer. And Spencer is at JGR. He's been at JGR for a long, long time. They stole you 2007. They stole you from you still at Kawasaki.
Yeah.
And how I know Spencer is he had the unfortunate experience of living with me for how many years? 4 years or so?
Yeah,
5 years maybe?
3 or 4 maybe.
Yeah, it was a little while. He was that's when you stopped working up at WR and started working down at Team Green, correct?
Yep. Traveled the country in the old Team Green box van.
Yeah, and so Spencer helped me afford to live in beautiful Costa Mesa, California, because God knows I couldn't afford that myself. I managed to buy more house than I can afford, which today was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. My wife thinks it is because she still lives in that house. But I knew Spencer used to race against him out in the desert, 250 expert class. He always had a really Sano bike. And
you did.
And then and my bikes were okay. My problem is I rode them too much.
Yeah, you bruised them.
Yeah, and then somehow, and I don't know how that happened, you started helping me out with seats. Like I think Dave started. I don't know if I was actually sponsored or just hooked me up with some different seat covers and stuff.
Yeah,
and I was running those for a little bit.
Yeah, we had Hamill and you and a few other guys out in the desert.
Yeah, so that was after I lost the KTM. So that would have been 92-ish, I think. So anyways, this show would not be possible without the help of a lot of our sponsors. We are brought to you by Yamaha, so Blue Crew. Matt, how was the YZ250FX racing in the desert this weekend?
Oh, it was perfect. It was actually really fun. Great bike. I think there's some things I would change if I was to go back and do that race again.
Okay.
But I was having a great time.
Taco Moto, they're the sponsors of our segment. Spencer, I don't know if you're familiar with this. We do a segment called Roost or Endo. It's where we have people send us a picture of their bike. They're supposed to tell us your make and model, and then a description of the modifications, and then we talk about it a little bit, and we talk about how it makes us feel, and whether good or bad or indifferent. And they're going for tonight. It's double or nothing night at Roost or Endo, because usually it's a $100 gift certificate from Takamoto. Tonight it's $200 because we were so disappointed in last week's submissions. We banned them and just rolled the prize money over till tonight. So you have a lot of weight, $100 more weight than most co-hosts have on their shoulders. So Takamoto, fine sponsors. Go to takamoto.co. Double take mirrors. I've run those things on my bikes forever. Bulletproof Designs, they sponsor our product of the week. I got a super top secret product of the week. It's hidden here inside of this black bag. I'll tell you what it is. Seat Concepts, makers of awesome seats. Man, I love my Tenere seat. Every time I sit down on it, which isn't very much. It isn't enough. Fasst Company, of course, the flex handlebars. I just put like some of the rear brake spring majiggers on a couple of my KTM 500s. Pretty stoked. And Trail Tech, course, DDC and Climb, all great sponsors of this show. So without them, this would not be possible. I always say support the people that support this sport and, of course, the show. And you can always support us a little bit more by clicking through our Amazon or Rocky Mountain ATV MC links on our website is the easiest way to get it. And we get a little chunk, a little commission, and it helps pay for Matt's gas, I guess, barely.
It pays for the gas.
Pays for the gas. Okay, good. We're paying for the gas. So, Spencer, how is life and you are in North Carolina, correct?
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah, I moved to South Carolina end of last year with my wife. He disappeared another year. And but I work in North Carolina, right on the border.
Okay. So I'm glad I wasn't totally confused by that, because I'm pretty sure that operation is in North Carolina, but I knew it was kind of close.
Yeah.
So you went from a desert donkey to a
Trails, woods tight, something I'm not used to.
Kind of like remember that trail we had in Gorman, the one that was in the canyon that we weren't supposed to be riding in?
Oh yeah.
It's like that, right?
No.
Oh, come on. Remember the time we got your KX500 all stuck down there?
Oh yeah. That was
it's like that, right?
Oh yeah, okay, that one. Now I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. Where I got it buried, it was bad. It took 6 of us to get it unstuck.
That was some gooey suction cuppy mud down there for sure. And another thing that we might touch on is you were around when I was really into making all those riding videos.
Yes.
And I don't know if I ever showed you the helmet cam. It was of that Bell helmet cam. Matt, you might have seen this. It's got an aluminum box on the side of it, and it's counterweighted with a big old lead ballast on the other side that we used to drop a high 8 camera inside of.
Oh, really?
That's the stuff that Spencer made. He probably saw me with it duct taped to the side of my helmet, and he goes, "I can fix that." And next thing you know, something like this would come out. That was the original helmet cam stuff. It was, well, we'd seen stuff in On Any Sunday where they did something just as stupid, right?
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
so cool.
my neck still hurts from that.
No kidding. But so Spencer was around in a lot of our riding videos that I literally just brought my VCR units over here to Pahrump, and I have all the stuff to be able to hook it up and show him some of those horrible riding videos we used to make that I can't show to public because we would get in trouble with content violations, copyright violations for music, number one.
Yep.
And number two, me and my friends did a lot of really stupid things that is recorded on video. And so not only is that good for me to have in my possession, it's really important that I don't let some of that get out of my possession. So, anyways, yeah, a lot of Thanksgiving trail ride videos that will go down in history. So I will show you that. So, I think, do we have questions from last week's show and stuff?
No, we got them all.
We got them all
Last week, yeah.
Okay.
But those are all this week's.
We have new questions.
Yes.
Okay. So the other thing we do on the show, Spencer, is we answer viewer questions that come in. So if you're watching the show, listening to the show, whatever, wherever you're at, mostly Facebook and or YouTube, if you type in the comments, the questions, we take those and we put them on the next show if we don't get to them tonight. So you get to see him on are you scrolling through on his thing or not really?
No, he doesn't see that.
He doesn't get to see him.
So we're gonna have to,
I just got to read him right off the thing, or are you going to read him off the sheet?
I can read off the sheet if you would like.
Okay.
So, are we going straight into questions then?
Let's go straight into questions because I'm sure it'll prompt up some stories. Because I'll tell you, if there's two more different people in a lot of ways on this earth, it's me and Spencer. You want to explain this?
I think it's more me and Dave Osterman. We were more different.
How could you how could you be different than Dave? Like both you guys seem to have very high quality
I
standards.
guess personality. He is very,
Okay.
very, very high strung. I'm chill.
Yeah. Yeah. But how, let's just say if we both ran out to the garage right now and we took a picture, our garages would probably look very different.
Probably. Yeah.
Well, I don't.
Does yours look like a bomb exploded?
No.
And a motorcycle was left, and then because that's what mine generally look like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yours is probably meticulous. All the tools in your drawer are probably lined up in order.
Yeah. I wish, but I got lazy in my old age.
Oh. Yeah, because we're all that old. Are we really that old these days? Oh no. Okay, so let's go to our first question.
All right, so the first question is going to come from Jim Bartel. Can you discuss? Yeah, and yep. So can you?
Yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah, I know this guy too. I got a good leg workout with his bike the other day. Okay, so can you discuss the different choices for sensor location for the water temperature gauge? Pros and cons of like radiator fins, cylinder bolt, water hose, etc.
So, I guess he's talking about like different bikes, or a lot of times when we were adding like a Trail Tech Voyager or Voyager Pro, you can put a temperature sensor in line in the radiator. I mean, in the old days, yeah, they had a thing you could clip onto the cylinder fins or slide into the radiator fins. It's just, it depends on what you're really trying to determine. It's going to be kind of consistent, I think, in that wherever your thing is, it's going to be reading where that temperature is coming from. I've actually done it where I had a temperature sensor going into the radiator and out of the radiator at one point. So it was showing the temperature of the water that was coming out of the motor and temperature that was going into the motor. To see how it was cooling, what the difference was. And I was actually pretty amazed at that. And that was kind of done as part of a coolant test that we were doing at one time. But I don't know, Spencer, where do you think the best location would be? I would say coming out of the motor.
Yeah,
would
I
be
would
good.
think so too.
Yeah, and then so that's ultimately how hot the motor is. And in reality, if you're getting specific about this, if you want to, really understand, you would have both coolant temperature and engine oil temperature, because I think the engine oil temperature would kind of give you a kind of a better idea what the inside of your engine is doing. Because I've seen bikes that have a pretty low coolant temperature in regards to how hot the oil was, especially for riders that abuse clutches, because that's where I feel most of the engine heat is developed on a modern motorcycle for most riders. So pros and cons, I think it depends on what you're trying to achieve in having them in different locations. But cylinder bolt, how long has it been since we used a cylinder bolt as a location for a heat sensor? But yeah, good.
So my follow-up question is, did we ever figure out what happened to his bike?
To Jim's bike?
Yeah. So for context for our listeners, we were on a ride the other day, Jim and I, and we were in the middle of a canyon, of a little wash, in a canyon. So there wasn't a whole lot of wind flow, and his bike was overheating. And then he stopped it, like he turned it off, nothing out of the ordinary. But then when he went to start it again, nothing, just battery was dead.
So here's what the end result was. He had a bad battery. Something went wrong in his battery, and it just shorted out a cell or whatnot. Battery was zero. It was intermittent, so it would go from 0 voltage to having some voltage. So something broke inside the battery. That was the end result of the problem. The reason it started overheating, and Jim being a worrywart, you like that word? Worrywart? So, and by the way, Jim used to operate big giant cranes in New York City. So the ones that, build the high skyscrapers and stuff like that were lifting heavy things all over the place. So I can understand why he has that thing. So, and he was just riding a KTM, and his coolant level was probably exactly at the appropriate level. And when it got a little bit hot, because the fan wasn't operating properly, that it spit a little bit of coolant out. And on KTMs, a lot of time the coolant goes right onto the exhaust header or someplace close, and it makes steam. And you smell it and you see it really quick, which is great. And it can do it for a long time before you're going to have any problems. But the strange thing is I also know that KTMs seem to just stop running when the batteries go dead. So I'm not really sure the timing on that or how that happened, because he also felt like he said maybe his fan wasn't working, or he didn't remember his fan working.
Yeah, the bike was getting hot.
Yeah. So he has Recluse too, right?
On that one, I believe so.
So was he on his? And he was on his 4-stroke.
Yeah, he's on his 500.
500.
Actually,
yeah.
that one might not have had a Recluse. No, it did.
No, it does.
It did.
He has a Recluse on all his bikes, which is kind of strange that it was getting that hot. But I mean, with a Recluse, it's hard to slip your clutch.
Right, and it was in a technical spot.
Right. Well, little technical, little clutch slipping. Maybe he was a gear too high. Maybe the clutch was working so good he forgot to downshift.
Maybe. I mean, I was having fun in that section.
Spencer, have you ever run a Recluse clutch?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you're an expert level rider. They're for old people and for bad riders, right?
No. I think any rider.
I'm glad he said that.
I think any good rider could benefit from it. I kept trying to put them on the truck for, let's say, a mud race or something, on the JGRMX truck. We actually had them for a while. We just didn't use them, or it was a conflict with Hinson and all that stuff. But we had them on there secretly in case we needed them for a mud race.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, did any of the riders ever test with them?
Yeah. I think it was the second year. Trying to think who. Cody Cooper, I think.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really hesitant to try them on a motocross bike, and then I think it was the 09 Honda 450 with the first year of the fuel injection was a little bit prone to stalling. And so I said, what the heck, I'll try one. In the beginning, I didn't like it because typical Recluse, their engagement is set just a little bit high. And so when you're coming into turns, especially on a motocross bike with the wheel hopping around in bumps and stuff, it would lock up and then freewheel. And then I started playing around with adjustment. And, generally a little bit higher idle speed would help, and a little bit lighter. At the time, I think they might have been. No, it was probably a wedge one. I'm trying to think. It was all the old one with the balls in it.
Oh,
but,
yeah, we got the one with the wedge. Kind of was a traditional clutch type, because the balls were just that was way too. That wasn't good.
Yeah, the balls actually. The balls actually have the smoothest engagement, but they don't ramp down as good. They didn't, like the wedges seem like when you shut off the throttle, they'll come down and disengage. The wedges or the balls engage the clutch better. The wedges disengage the clutch better. So
did they ever get it to where you could bump start a bike?
On the hydraulic, yes, they did, because all you have to do is, whether it's hydraulic clutch, you just take a 4mm Allen and back what they call the free play gain adjuster out, and it basically will take all the free play out of it. And then same thing with the cable clutches. If you get the higher level Recluse, I think even with the lower level one, you can always just completely unscrew the clutch and it'll collapse it back down, and then you can get it to bump start.
But you can't do it on the fly. Like, say if you stall or something, like in a mud race, could you?
No, you would. Yeah, you'd have to hit the starter, electric starter, but no, there wasn't like, you could set it up. I mean, you could make something that would allow it to bump start, like a little decomp lever. You could probably rig something up, but the idea is that they don't. The idea is that they don't stall, but we all know that You turn the throttle at the wrong time with any clutch, any setup, it'll stall.
Yeah.
So, okay. So how do we end up down that path?
Oh, because Jim's bikes.
Oh, because Jim bikes had a recluse in it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I don't even remember what we talked about in the show, and I have to do the what we talked about in the show read when we end the show. That's how this works.
Yeah. All right, so let's go on to the next question from Ken.
How about go to Brenda Hansen's question live?
All right, so Brenda Hansen, do you think there will be an aftermarket retrofit fuel injection kit for carbureted two-strokes like they have for classic cars coming out in the future? That's actually a really good question.
Man, the answer is could be, but the problem is a fuel pump. It'd be no problem to put like a throttle body that has an ejector in it, but you'd have to have an ignition that, you'd have to have ignition. No, you know what? It's not. It won't happen because you need a crankcase pressure sensor. There's a lot of stuff unless you want to start drilling holes in your.
Well, and you would need I'm assuming you would need a battery for the fuel pump as well.
Battery for the fuel pump, but I was sitting there going, well, the tank, you can't just put it. You could put a whole fuel pump unit on it somehow, and just gravity feed into the fuel pump. But now I start thinking about it, all the sensors that it would take. You would somehow have to get a crankcase pressure sensor in there, which is probably not that easy. So, yeah, I don't think so. I mean, you'd think it would be easier with 4 strokes than 2 strokes, in all honesty, because you don't need the crankcase pressure sensor. You need a coolant temperature sensor, ambient air pressure, and intake. Something that you put in the air boot, and then you would be good. But, I know a lot of bikes that like fuel injection. Imagine if I fuel injected by Husaberg 650.
That'd be dangerous. Well, I mean, you have one in pieces right now, so
I know I could start working on the kit.
Yeah,
I mean, I could just grab like KTM parts and start putting it on there. No, it has actually the one that I'm working on is an 02, and it has a SEM ignition in it. So not a lot you can do there.
Right.
You know what I picked up on my way home from Mexico, Spencer?
What's that?
2 Husaberg 650s.
Wow.
Were you around when an 02 and an 08? Were you around when I was having my Husaberg? Well, it's kind of continued, but when I had the Husaberg 650 around, were you around when that bike was floating around?
Is that the one with the cylinder that's flipped upside down or something? Or
no, that was the 08. I think we had one in 06. Is when we had one at Dirt Rider. It was a long-term test bike. And I know we took it out to the 24-hour, and it's funny because Ray Conway and I were talking about Husaberg 650s a couple weeks ago, and literally the next day these 2 popped up for sale, and like the money pretty much left my wallet when I saw them, but then I went and rode it. I literally rode one of them down the street and just twisted the throttle one time and just said, "Oh, it's a done deal." And they're literally ticking time bombs. I mean, they
Really?
can't get parts for them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I went back and read the Dirt Rider test, and we put over 250 hours on the thing, and really the only thing that was wrong with it was the balance shaft, like the seal, because the balance shaft and the water pump are on the same shaft, and the seal had kind of galled into the shaft, and it was leaking a little bit. That was really the only problem with our bike after 250, hard hours. All we did with that bike, once we realized what it was good for, we were out at Jawbone Canyon any chance we could, climbing every stinking hill known to man. It's the only bike that, and you're a KX500 guy, so you kind of know the feeling of power. Even on a KX500, you don't get to upshift on those hills.
No.
You kind of go into that hill and you're pinned, and if you make an upshift, it's just not going to pull it. Well, this bike pulls it. You make the shift and it pulls the next gear, and you're just like, holy crap. So anyways, yeah, so I got 2 of them. One of them's framed right now. I made sure the motor was good, pulled it out, and then I'm going to Sano everything up because the suspension actually worked amazingly well. I was kind of blown away, so I got to send that off and get that taken care of and just freshen it all up. But yeah, that's where we're at. So Brenda cannot ride 4 strokes because they sound funny. Is Brenda a girl or guy?
No, girl.
It's a girl.
Yeah, Brenda is going to be on Rooster Endo tonight, by the way.
Oh, she is?
Brenda
Okay.
has a chance for a $200 gift certificate.
That's good. Okay, next question, Matt.
All right, Ken Heiss. I'm trying to avoid having the suspension revalve to eliminate the Explorer Fork from diving down so much, especially when braking downhill. I've increased the preload to plus 3 millimeters and 2 in on the compression for the fork and backed out the compression by 2 and the high speed by an 1/8 on the shock to get more of a balanced feel. That was a run-on sentence. Curious if you have any basic setup settings that have worked for you in the past. Thanks for any help or insight you may have.
So Ken has a 19 Husky TE 510 is what the bike is.
501 FES.
501. 501. So I remember this. And so he's complaining about the Explorer Fork diving and the stroke under braking. And so the one thing that the Explorer Fork is kind of known for being is a little bit on the springy side, or it moves a lot. It's funny because when you like read all the reviews and stuff, most of the guys that just complain about it because it's the WP fork and Explorer Fork and it's not cone valve and it's not fat, they complain, but they don't even know, they can't even describe what it's actually doing. And what it's doing is being really, really supple and really plush. Side effect of that is a fork that moves a lot and kind of dives. So he's done the right thing. And so he added a little bit of compression to the fork, took out some high-speed compression, which lowers the effective ride height in the rear. And he sounds like a guy who's probably set his sag, so I'm going to give him that. And then also backed out the compression in the rear. So in other words, he's trying to lower the rear to take some weight off of the front. He's having it dive. Still feeling that it's diving. I run this riding school, Matt.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to do is I want to watch him ride because I'm kind of afraid that he's not getting back when he's doing his braking, or there could be some modification to the body, because with the stock WP stuff, I don't really experience it that much. I'm kind of okay with it, and on the Explorer Fork. And I don't specifically remember this on this bike. I thought that bike was actually pretty good because it's not the PDS. The PDS, the KTM ones tend to pitch a little bit more, and so it's a little bit more of a problem. So I started thinking, and then I'm going, I wonder if he's a really tall guy, and maybe that could be affecting it, whatever. So if you don't want to revalve your suspension, here's the things in this order that I would do. Check your fork oil level. Because a lot of times those forks come like lower level, bring it up to pretty close to the maximum they'll allow. And I don't remember, it's like 105 or 110 millimeters or something from the tops. That's with it all collapsed and everything out. That helps a ton. And it really helps with the bottoming. I complain more about the bottoming on those két, and adding that extra oil really does, it holds them up, and it does the bottoming. So the second thing that you can do is realize that the compression and rebound adjusters on that fork, and that's the fork that has compression on one side and rebound on the other. Number one, those are kind of like, they're not really low speed adjusters. They're more of a mid speed where they affect it. So you can actually be kind of aggressive with your settings, and you're not going to feel it as much as the way the bike's going to react better than it'll like you'll the effect you'll get is more than what you feel. Like most people, like they turn their clickers and they want to feel something. On the KTMs, you don't feel it. It just holds the bike up more, or it gets a little bit stiffer, rides higher. So that's the thing. And the rebound on that particular bike affects the compression a lot. Not that you're going to feel it because it's mid-speed, but it does. The rebound does affect the compression quite a bit on that bike. So a lot of times, especially on the fork, if you can get away with a little bit slower rebound, you can get a lot more compression. So maybe he was clicking the wrong clicker. So those things in that order can help you quite a bit. But you don't need a big revalve to fix this. Actually, a really simple revalve can fix it. And so I use my good buddy George at ESP Suspension. He's in Pasadena, Montrose, California. He used to do my suspension way back when. He's still the guy I take my stuff to when I'm just having stuff done. He has some really simple little stuff that he does internally, some shims, and he knows how to do this other thing that really helps in those Explorer forks is he puts an additional compression adjuster in the rebound side of the fork. So you get a compression adjuster down on the bottom of your fork leg. And so all that can do, if you just took it and popped it in, it can only make it softer. But if you pop that in there and you valve the other stack for stiffer, then you have a lot more adjustability. And it's like $150 mod or something like that if he's doing your suspension. It's really not that much, but well worth it. So, Ken, that's how you can fix it. You don't need to get any cone valves.
Mm-hmm.
This is the setting. I'm taking a set down. I'm taking my Husaberg suspension to him because it just needs to be freshened up. I was blown away by how well that worked for an old bike. Actually, not even for an old bike, even for a new bike. It feels like that thing has 15 inches of rear wheel travel. It's crazy, and it probably does actually. But I'm taking one of the new 500s that I got. I'm taking it down there, and I'm gonna have him do exactly what I just told you. Ask him for the Jimmy setting. So. Okay, that makes sense, Spencer?
Yep. No, it didn't. You lost me with all the. I don't know about all that old European stuff.
Old European stuff.
What
do you want? Like, do you want air? Yeah, WP. It's the simplest stuff out there. There's
sure
open cartridge.
I've never dealt with it though.
Yeah, you want? What do you want? Oh, I know you. You want an air fork with 3 different Schrader valves on it, so you can adjust the crap out of everything, right?
Yeah.
Because you'd take the time and you'd have a settings chart and you'd do it.
Yep.
Who's the pickiest rider you ever worked with?
Probably James Stewart.
James Stewart.
Yeah.
And to give a little history, so you built Ricky Carmichael's Works mini bikes back in the day. That was kind of your leap into the race building stuff. So you've been around a little while here.
Yep. Little guy.
And so what that guy was pretty fast.
Yeah.
So actually, funny thing is you've probably worked on most of the fastest modern day motocross riders' bikes that we know of. Yeah.
Never Jeremy McGrath though.
Yeah, but he was kind of going.
Yeah.
He was already. It's just like. Yeah. So he was kind of already rolling at that time.
Yeah. Ricky Carmichael, and up through, Stewart, and just all the Team Green guys, and then obviously when on JGR, I mean we've had so many riders I can't even name them all, just because we had fill-in guys, and guys getting hurt, and we always have someone. We'd always have a replacement rider because we always had to have a guy on the track.
Yeah. And so what made James so hard to deal with?
I mean, part of it was...
Besides the fact that he rode a motorcycle faster than anybody else in the world.
Yeah, like he was so mad that he couldn't go through whoops like insanely fast. I mean, to where you shouldn't be able to go that fast. But he wanted to go that fast. So he'd set up his bike to go through the whoops insanely fast, but it wouldn't work anywhere else. So, and then when we had him, we had unfortunately the first generation Yamaha perimeter frame, which was a struggle. So
that bike was awesome. Bike of the year. Back then, I picked it. I picked it like the magazine, the Dirt Rider magazine. Everybody that rode that thing loved that thing, and I sure it wasn't perfect, but and I can kind of see maybe for top guys where there would be a couple little issues, but for the regular guy that was a really good bike. But boy, did Jody decide it wasn't the best thing, and after the first couple Supercrosses, which I kind of remember like Josh Grant and James Stewart and those guys running up front on that bike, correct?
Josh Grant was good on the '09, which was the previous year.
Oh, the previous one, right.
So
But
we just struggled with, I think there was some flex issues and with that first generation perimeter frame. So, and I think it was only, it was great for everyday riders, but for the top riders where they're putting so much load on it, it would flex. Usually in like G outs and landing table to table, stuff like that, or just
yeah, so
transitions on Supercross track.
yeah, so super high load that like I said, ordinary riders don't really stress bikes that much. So these guys, and I don't know if they can describe it or they feel it, but well, but it doesn't lead to confidence. It's when, and I know this from like, older PDS bikes that would bottom out and they would always flex to one side because the shock was mounted off center, and it had a certain wind up to it. But I never really experienced it with, I don't know, almost any aluminum frame bike. I've never really had that feeling. But so you guys went to the effort of welding extra beams inside of there and stuff?
Yeah. So with James, we were down testing. We leave Charlotte. Let's see, Sunday night after when we get back from the race. We drive all night, get to his house 8:30 in the morning, test all day, and then load up and go back home. It's about an 9 hour drive. And that was like almost every single weekend, just trying to get that bike better. So we ended up, it was a flex issue where in the transitions, we were thinking that the frame was bowing out in those transitions, or the G outs between if he does like a triple quad or something, he's got to land and be super committed and high load on the bike, and it would just flex. It would just like the whole bike would just like go this way, and then the frame would flex out. So we put a bar in there from one head stay to the other. I was machining this bar on his little cheesy lathe, and it worked, but it wouldn't turn. So then we tried these aluminum rods with elastomer, just like on a mountain bike shock in the middle, to where it could still have some. And we had different rigidity levels, and it was. I think he won Oakland with that setup, but we still had problems with it turning, so we had to work on that. So, but yeah, it was. I think and then Yamaha eventually got involved. Initially, they were not happy with us doing that, but I think they got involved and they had a Heim joint set up. They tried, and I think it led to some of their future frame directions. So
yeah, and there's no doubt that when as much as mere mortals don't need to be paying attention too much to what the guys at the races are doing, because those bikes, as much as there's a production rule, they're very, very specialized, and from offset steering head bearings and just everything that they tune with even to get different geometries, which is crazy, to all the moving around of foot pegs and all this crazy stuff. It doesn't necessarily apply otherwise, but there are times I think when you start getting a direction, and this is, I think, any time. And Yamaha was always really careful about making, kind of frame changes and stuff. They do stuff, but where other manufacturers would kind of really make leaps, Yamaha would always take these little steps. And I think you can see it now. It's really paid off, because I think they were a little slow to react in the beginning, but like everything else, it's like the bike that, out of all the bikes, the bike that sits in the middle, the you know, especially when you do all these quote shootouts and stuff,
Yeah.
the bike that's the middle is the one that's going to win most of the time. And because they all have good motors, and the Yamaha, the good thing about it, with that tuning stuff you can do to it now, you can have any motor you want. So this chassis, all it has to do, they've always had decent suspension, and I think, you know, when KTM was doing something crazy, then Honda would do something crazy, and Suzuki never changed. So Suzuki was always this sort of this anchor of a bike that was actually pretty good. And, you know, everything's kind of changing around. The Yamaha, as weird as it was with the backwards motor, it was really consistent. And yeah, I could see where, you know, and when they start talking about torsional and longitudinal rigidity and all this stuff, it goes over my head. But when I ride it, I feel it. I mean, you feel it like right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like to give you percents and numbers and all this stuff, and you know, this is X millimeters thinner, and we welded this here, and you know,
Yeah.
and then you see guys go and put different engine hangers on it.
Yeah, I had like a cheat sheet where, you know, with these races at this angle, it would lower the bars this much, and you have to raise the bars to get everybody comfortable again. Because believe it or not, you know, when you rake it out, it drops the front, so you have to compensate with higher bars and stuff like that. Different.
Yeah, and so these days you're working on NASCAR stuff, yeah?
Yes.
And what's your primary job there? What are you building?
Pretty much any and every tool and doodad that that they request at the track. I basically sit on a computer and do stuff CAD wise, and then I guess with my background, because I'm not an engineer, but I have a good mechanical.
You just play one in real life.
Yeah, I have a good mechanical common sense, I guess you'd say. So I work with a bunch of engineers, but I think my forte is being able to work with the mechanics down there. They tell me what they need. I can kind of understand. I don't over-engineer it, and then try and get it built. And it seems to be working out this weekend. I actually had a part on our cars for the first time that I was kind of nervous about, because it's a NASCAR dictated that you can only make it out of plastic. So it was rapid prototypes, but it was a clicker for, you know, when they throw a wrench in the back window at a pit stop. You know, I don't know if you watch NASCAR, but it's hydraulic now, so it's too easy to turn. So the guys couldn't tell whether they got a turn on it. So I made like a clicker, so, you know, like a suspension clicker, but it had to be plastic. So it was grown on a 3D printer. So, and they all survived this last weekend. So I was happy about that.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Spencer, I remember one day he came home from work, Kawasaki, and he probably had it probably wasn't a laptop, it was probably a desktop computer, and he showed me like this program that he was working with. It was like SolidWorks, but it was like 8-bit. You know, like video games.
Yeah, it's like 8-bit SolidWorks.
Well, I'm making an analogy here, but that's like, you found that when it was like brand new, yeah.
Yeah. I was just fooling around with it back then.
Yeah, he was literally just fooling around with it, designing like wrenches and weird things, and you know, roll, you know, 7 or 8 years later, Joe Gibbs Racing has the most Sano tool cart you've ever seen, like at the races. This thing, and you know, I'd seen him for a while, you know, because he moved away. Mm-hmm. Hey Spencer, what have you been up to? So I was, you know, doing this or that, you know, and I made that, and it just looks like kind of a tool cart until he takes you over and starts showing you the most super Sano thing I'd ever, you know, like, it's better than my garage. It couldn't go in my garage because that'd be like bringing kryptonite to Superman's house.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it'd be something like that.
Dividers.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So right on. Okay, we have another question.
Yeah, so we'll go with Rich Millen.
Okay.
Or actually, no, we'll go to Adam Hansen.
Okay.
Speaking of Husaberg, we already know how great the 570 is, but what about the smaller displacement 70-degree bikes like the 390 and the 450?
They're good, but the one thing about those bikes is the scale weight is pretty heavy, and the 450 is okay. They actually had some 450s that would run pretty good, but they just, because they don't have that little extra power, which actually power on most bike really adds weight. On the Husaberg, the power actually makes them feel lighter on the 70-degree motors. So they're okay. The 390 is kind of fun, but feels kind of heavy.
Got it.
That's the answer.
All right, so Kenny Brown was asking, how much better is 2 rim locks instead of 1?
If you're desert racing and you're going to get flat tires, it's really good. If you're super hauling ass, like dual sport applications or rally applications, and you want a balanced wheel, it's really good. But I stopped doing that when I stopped getting flat tires. I started running good tires and good tubes. I used to do it when I used to run IRC tires back in the day, and I was buying my tires and stuff. I started running 2 rim locks because I seemed like I got a flat tire almost every race.
Yeah, a certain kid who used to be a co-host on the show definitely could have used 2 rim locks.
Oh,
this
yeah.
past weekend.
You beat him.
I did beat him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got a flat. So they don't ask you how, right? They just ask you when
Yeah.
you finished. So actually, Spencer, I do have a question because this rim lock question got me thinking. How come we haven't really seen any more advancements with mooses in motocross bikes?
I mean, we ran mooses. We were one of the few teams that actually ran a front moose as well.
Okay.
I mean, every motocross race we had front and rear mooses. A lot of guys don't like the front because it's too dead, but we made them run it and just get used to it.
That's awesome.
Sounds like how you learn how to do things around here. You're just told to do it, right?
Right.
No explanation.
Yeah, just because like I hadn't heard if they had become more mainstream to run mooses in like the top level of supercross.
The problem is they have, like Spencer said, they have a weird feel, a dead feel.
Yeah.
And they don't turn the same. And the tires tend to roll a little bit different than a pneumatic tire. And I know Dunlop had those crescent mooses where you actually had a small tube inside of a moose, but I mean they're changing them all the time, so at least there's the consistency. It's not like it's wearing out. But I imagine if you get a guy that's super picky, that would be pretty tough.
Also, I know that Doug. We had Doug working. Doug, I can't think of his last name. The Bridgestone.
Starts Schlepsky?
Yeah, well,
something like this.
He was Bridgestone Doug, then he became Pirelli Doug.
Pirelli Doug, yeah.
Yeah, so he would measure because they shrink. Or they shrink?
Yes.
Yeah, they shrink.
Yes, they shrink.
Yeah, so the 450 mooses would get retired to 250 mooses, and then eventually they'd throw them away. So I think that was a key to our.
No, that's when they go to trail riding mooses.
Yeah, so that was.
Yeah, they should go to the trail ride. The enduro guys
and
should get them at that
enduro
point.
cross is when it's really dead.
yeah, that's when you're drilling holes through the middle of them and stuff.
Jeez.
So hey, I'm gonna hang up on all you Instagrammers. If you want to keep watching the show or you're sick of it already, it doesn't matter. You can go over to our YouTube or our Facebook channel. So we'll see you out in the trail there. Okay.
Cool.
So, yeah. What was the next? Speed Toad says, "Never mind, my wife is listening." What he was asking, what's the next bike he should buy?
Maybe, I'm not really sure. I didn't see anything else from him in the chat. So let's go ahead and move on to the questions that were actually submitted to us before, which was Rich Millen, and I think you answered his question on email, but I think the audience would mind hearing this. So I'd like to make my CRF 450 RX easier to ride in the tight northeastern terrain where I live. I have 3 ideas, and I was wondering if you could provide input on which one or combination of the 3 would be the most beneficial. Option 1 is go up on the rear sprocket by 1 or 2 teeth to bring second gear down and avoid shifting into first in the slow sections. 2, which is adding flywheel weight. Or 3, go with the Recluse full auto clutch.
So, so the whole Recluse system, there's 3 different levels of clutches you can get for the Honda. The more money you spend, the better it's going to get. You're going all the way up to the full EXP whatever Pro. I don't know what it is, but it allows the lever to still function properly, and and then you get the auto engagement and whatever, and that's really tunable. So you can kind of get it set up in between that and the idle speed. You can make it really work, and that will solve most of the problems. Especially just the hit. You can kind of take some of the hit that motor has by setting it right, because it just slips a little bit longer, and it allows you to ride the gear high without stalling. So that's the kind of go-to on that. I don't think that the flywheel weights are that effective on that bike for some reason. It just never seemed like it was. And then as far as changing the gearing, man, I hate going into first gear and because you're crossing neutral all the time.
Yeah.
And so I hate having to do that. But I think the Recluse clutch, it's about $1,000. You spend the $1,000 and you're going to fix that. You're going to fix that problem, and then you're not going to have anything to do with your left hand while you're riding. So you can wave at all the fans when you're roosting. That's what I think. So, okay.
So,
what does Josh want to know?
He wants to know, hey, Jimmy, what would you recommend safety wiring on a bike? What would you recommend safety wiring on a bike, or just what the race series rules require?
That's a question for Spencer. I don't safety wire anything. I mean, sometimes I safety wire my on the KTM's the brake clip, the brake pin clips. I will actually make it so one of them can't come out without cutting the safety wire, and then if the other one comes out, it's at least dangling there, so it's hooked to the wire that goes over there. But I don't think I safety wire anything else. What do they safety wire anymore on dirt bikes?
I mean, really, the only thing we really used to safety wire was banjo bolts on the brakes, and grips, really.
Right. Yeah, grips are good to safety wire. I mean, I glue my grips on now, so it's not it doesn't seem to be an issue. I've never had, if I did it right, if I glued the grips on right, they have to cut them off. It's the worst thing is having to take the grips off after you've glued them on. So yeah, I don't know what race series rules require. I mean, I know road racing is a little bit different where they want to do that, but yeah, Loctite if you're worried about it. Do we know what Speed Toad wanted?
No.
I have no idea.
No, that just came out of nowhere.
Just come out of nowhere.
Yeah. So let's go into Sean Elliott. So is there any value in halfway through oil life laying the bike on its side, removing the magnetic drain plug, clean it, and reinstall with a thorough clean magnet? Would the drain plug work better?
I think, I mean, if your if your magnet is actually getting so clogged up that it's not working, because if you look at those magnets, and this is on like the European bikes, they all have magnetic drain plugs. Like even the stuff that's attracted to the magnet, it's magnetic now too, and it'll actually attract other stuff. And I've pulled out some pretty like long strings of stuff on those magnets. I mean, like, double the length of that little magnet. I've pulled stuff out. Mm-hmm. Not on my bike, by the way. Not on mine. And so it was still doing its job. And you a lot of bikes, especially that have, wet ignitions, there's that big magnet in there that's also grabbing stuff too. So I think, if you're doing your engine oil with any regularity, I don't think that's of any use. I don't believe. What do you think, Spencer?
Yeah, we had them on the race bikes.
And it's
actually buy them from Zip Tie.
Yeah. He makes really Sano stuff. His little trinkets that he sells.
Yeah.
It's some good things. So have you ever seen? So there's this new thing. I'm actually testing it. It's in my bike that's coming back up from Mexico. Actually, it's back. It's in Vegas. My bike made it back from Mexico. It's like instead of an oil filter, it's a big giant magnet that goes inside of the oil filter. Have you ever seen those?
I mean, we used to have a magnet on the inside of our oil filter cover, but
right. So this is like a really strong magnet, and I guess it's a couple different kinds of magnets. So they grab different types of pieces of metal, and it supposedly can completely replace a paper filter. Now, I mean, the paper filters have been in bikes forever, and they've worked, and there's no need to reinvent the wheel. But I'm testing this thing, and I'm kind of monitoring what it pulls out. But when you're talking about race bikes that are maintained all the time, everything's done to the highest level and stuff. The magnet was it in there to show you the health of the motor to a certain extent, or to show you when something's going wrong?
Yeah, I think it was to show you if something went wrong.
Right. And maybe, hopefully, if just a little thing went wrong, it would stop it from going more wrong.
Right. Yeah, because there were certain time intervals we'd run a motor. So if it was showing some wear, we'd cut it off shorter or something like that.
Yeah. And that's what I always tell people. Like, that magnet is a sign of your engine's health. Take a look at that thing. When you wipe it, smear it out and see if it just, the brown stuff that just smears, the black stuff that just smears, you're fine. But if you got a couple chunks in there, it's time to investigate where that stuff come from. And even the same thing with the paper filters. I'll take the paper filter and slice it and cut it and just pull the pleats open and look to see, because the aluminum doesn't stop on the magnet. The aluminum, and this is my new Husaberg had a lot of aluminum on the oil filter screen. And I pulled the paper, and I'm like, oh man, where's it coming from? So I started pulling the motor down, and it was the internal clutch basket. It's like one of the only aluminum things in there. I thought for sure that I was going to find a gear that was grinding on the cases, which are magnesium, same stuff. But I thought for sure I was going to find a gear, but I couldn't, and I just kept going, and I finally looked at the metal drive plates on the aluminum thing, and kind of like the Japanese bikes where the basket is aluminum that those tend to wear. This is where I was getting my metal from. So, with all that power, you kind of come to expect this. So, okay.
I think it's time for a commercial break.
Yeah,
and then we'll come right back and we'll get some more questions.
Okay,
Roost or Endo.
Got to thank our sponsors again: Yamaha, Takamoto, Scott Sports, Climb, DDC, Trailtech, Fasst Company, Seat Concepts, Bulletproof Designs, and Double Take Mirrors. So with that, listen to these commercials and enjoy the show.
The defending champion, the all-new Yamaha YZ450F.
What's up, Moto Buddies? Mike here from Taco Moto Co. What is the Taco Touch? It's the best service in the industry. Virtually 24/7 tech support via email or text, and it's like having a dirt bike doctor on call every day of the year, helping you fix your bike or recommend parts or setups for you. If you've ever received an order from us, you know that the Taco Touch extends to our fulfillment, and our orders come with the coolest stickers that you've ever had, buying parts from anybody before, and a handful of root beer barrel candies. All of our Taco Moto Co. branded components come with a no questions asked lifetime warranty, and we'll even extend out the warranty of other manufacturers, OEM, and aftermarket parts where we can, sometimes for life. We test and tune endlessly and exhaustively and obsessively. We're trying to destroy everything that we can before you get your hands on it to look for weaknesses and to improve it, or to make recommendations to the manufacturer. And if it's something that doesn't meet grade, then we don't offer it on the store. Everything that we carry is something that we have personally used, tested, and ridden, and raced, and knows meets the high Taco Touch demanding standard. Go out and get some adventure.
And we are back. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Otherwise, Matt couldn't drive out here from Las Vegas. Couldn't pay him enough. One toilet flush south of Las Vegas.
West of Vegas.
Yeah, well, water likes to flow south, I'm always told. Actually, it depends on where you're at. You know, one of the most confusing things is when I see water flowing north. Just weird thing. I don't know why. Okay, so we're getting close. Roost or Endo, brought to you by Taco Moto. We have submissions. We have 5 brand new submissions. Did they follow the rules?
Actually, all of them did.
Oh, yeah.
I was really impressed.
Yeah.
These were all email submissions, and the people who send it via email, 8 times out of 10, they're pretty good about it.
Right, but the ones that come, like when they say, "Can I DM you on the Twittergrams?"
The DMs actually on Instagram and Facebook, those ones tend to be pretty good too.
Oh.
It's the Facebook comments. Those ones are ugly.
Facebook comments.
Yeah, those ones are ugly.
Isn't everybody that uses Facebook drunk?
No, but they tend to be old.
Okay, old. Oh, and old people can't follow instructions.
Most of the time they can.
Matt. Welcome back. We are with Spencer Bloomer, who unfortunately was my roommate back in the 1990s. He taught me a thing or two. You know, I still have your little black little tray box of little impact driver bits and stuff.
Oh, you can keep it.
Yeah, it's funny because I think it was your throwaway ones, but you had some like security Torx bits and a couple of square fitting, just like it was all these weird things, and I can't tell you how many times that's got me out of a pickle. So, hey, what does Andy BJ want besides a BJ?
Jimmy, have you tried the 23 betas? The 2-stroke supposedly have a new cylinder porting and a new head. Also, new KYB shock.
I have ridden one on a dry lake bed around a figure 8 with a jump in the middle of it. Were you there for this?
Yes, I actually came and partook on the figure 8 with the little jump in it.
Right. So I can't say I've done a full test, but I probably have more information than 99% of the journalists that have ridden it based on that little test. I don't know supposedly what they have, but I will tell you that particular bike felt like it was smoother than the previous ones, which means it felt slower, and that's not a bad thing. It was easier to get into the throttle. It didn't have as kind of a pronounced of a hit. So much so that I pushed the rain and shine button, you know, the ignition map thing, to see if it came back alive because it was on the lower one. No, was it? I'm getting confused because my Husaberg has a high and low, and excuse me. That was my
the frog in your throat.
The frog in my throat. But
do you want to fill in the viewers with what's going on?
With my I got the WOG down in Mexico.
Yeah.
Let me finish this question. So I pushed the button on the beta and it had a completely distinctly different power band, which I thought was really good because most of the European bikes, when you push the button high to low or rain to shine or whatever, you can't tell the difference. And it was good. So I and that little jump on the dry lake bed, and we're talking like a 1 foot mound of dirt that we were just hitting in the middle of a figure eight. Couldn't tell about the suspension, so I'd have to go ride it. But I tell you what, the kid that owns the bike was really stoked on it, and he made it look really good. So, yeah. So back to so my co-buddy Mike Shirley, Rally Navigator Mike Shirley, shows up at my house. We hop in the truck for a 5-hour drive down to the border. And he goes, "Yeah, I went to a birthday party on Saturday night, and I think my friend got me sick." So 2 days later, I was saying, "Yeah, my buddy Mike hopped in the truck with me, and I think he got me sick."
Yeah.
And then I recovered from it. I got done, and then I flew back up on a plane, and I think it got me sick. So I'm just getting over. And plus, I was smashing salt cedars with my tractor today.
Yeah, that probably doesn't help either.
And it did allergies, yeah. So it's not like my cat came in here and kissed you.
No, that'd be bad. That'd be bad.
Hey,
You need a new producer.
Spencer, you know I have a cat?
You do?
Yeah, I'm a cat
Wow.
person.
You don't have dogs?
Why? No, yeah, it seemed like a dog person. No, I have cat because I had mouse problem and the cat took care of it. And now,
I guess
since she's
so.
killed anything within the vicinity, she has nothing to kill, so she just hangs out with me all day.
She's retired life.
Well, she's waiting to kill me. That's what cats do. If they could kill you, they would. And this one would. I think she's just sitting there, just waiting until I die so she can eat me. And then, that's the way a cat
That's
shows
what I
you they
heard.
love you.
Dogs, if you die next to a dog, they'll stay with you and they'll probably die with you. The cat will eat you.
Yes, this is 100% true. I know this from my friend who gave me the cat, who's a veterinarian, and now I'm questioning that if she's my friend or not. She just wants to see my cat murder me. We'll have to discuss this at a different time. We had a question up there.
Oh yeah, we have a few actually. I do want to hear about the roommate situation from the 90s though, at some point. So
Yeah.
Asher Petchigit. That is not American last name. Question: I have one bike, but I ride both soft enduro and fast desert races. What is the best setup for the suspension? Is it better to specialize to one side or set it up where it's just okay at both but not good at either?
That's a rough question.
I would say have two suspension settings, right? And just go
Well,
back
I
and
mean,
forth.
clickers are simple to turn. The reason they put the clickers on the bikes is so you can adjust the bike. You can personalize it. And if you're like Spencer, you would have a sheet with your settings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And you would do some testing. So I do testing, and then I just do it by feel. And I actually write on the shock with a felt tip pen, because when we were doing stuff at the magazine, I'd let bikes go and they'd come back, and I need to know where. We'd always write stock on it, and then I'd a lot of times I'd have a second setting where it was like, this is where we got to quote the ideal setting for a few, majority of us, a few of us, however it works.
Yeah.
So if you're going to err on one side versus another, go with what I always say, safety, something that provides, which is generally a little bit stiffer. Soft is, soft allows bikes to bottom, and then we get into that whole, like, what they do when they bottom, which is whether you bottom or they bottom or everybody bottoms, and like good things don't happen. So, and if, believe it or not, if you check your manual, a lot of times there's recommended settings for different things. Why do we keep getting those noises? What's going on there?
It's just notifications.
Notifications?
Yep.
Does anybody want to call in on the Hot Seats hotline? Seat Concepts Hot Seat Hotline?
It's just a click on the Zoom meeting.
Just click on the Zoom meeting. Yeah.
There's no more calling.
No one calling in. Well, nobody knows we're on the show. It's too early.
Yep.
All my friends are still at the bar. Spencer's got to go to bed. He's got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and make clickers for NASCARs. So, but if I would say, you got to test it. Go do your Fast Desert. Come up with a setting. Ride it around and get, okay, I'm happy with this setting. Write it down, and then take that setting and go ride it on your kind of soft enduro, whatever that is, and see how it works, and then get a setting there. So make the faster one first, go to the enduro one, get a setting, and then write them down and see what the difference is, and then put one in the middle and then go try both. This is what I would do if for some reason, because like ISD qualifiers back in my day, we would have like grass tracks, which are motocross tests, grass tracks, and then terrain tests, which are like off-road. And you didn't necessarily have enough time to be able to be doing a lot of clicks. You could do some stuff, but so I try to find the one that was, and mine was like more towards the faster safety side is where my kind of setting was. But man, if I thought I could, shave a few seconds off by, very quickly taking some compression out of my shock to make everything a little bit more supple, I would do it. So that's what I would do. Would that work? Would that work for you, Spencer?
I just remember, because it's been a while since I've ridden in the desert. I miss it, but you definitely want something to hold you up on those, those coming up over rise and there's a big old G out or something. If too soft, you're going to be cartwheeling. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I always, in my racing, I always kind of tended to set my bike up for a certain amount of safety, but not so much that the bike was like skittery or chattery or whatever. Because if it doesn't get traction, then you can't slow down. Was my always thing. If it's going to be bouncing around, if your tires aren't on the ground, then you can't slow the damn bike down. So that's there. What does John Brown want to know?
John Brown. Jimmy, what's your opinion on fork air bleeders?
Every bike should have it, unless you have an air fork. Hey, I've seen some pretty crazy stuff these days, but yeah. What do you want? A cat cam on the bike?
Hey, she'll hop on the bike.
She sleeps on. Yeah, she sleeps on the seats all the time. So yeah.
If you follow me on Instagram, whenever I'm here for a private lesson, I will find her laying down on a motorcycle, and I'll just post it on my story.
You whore out my cat.
Yep.
For your Instagram.
Yep. Yeah.
Likes.
Exactly.
Whew, we're gonna have to talk about that. She's not that cheap.
Hey, don't worry, you get royalties.
I'm pretty sure I was gonna give Selma her own Instagram account, but then I realized I don't even post on my own. So. Okay, are we gonna work into this Rooster Endo thing?
We can right now if you want.
Okay, Rooster Endo is brought to you by Taco Moto. That's tacomoto.co. Give Taco Mike a call or a text or whatever. Tell him Dirt Bike Test sent you, and buy lots of his stuff so he can keep sending us this little trinket of winning advice. Here we go. We're going to get a picture.
Yep.
Spencer, you're going to get to see it.
Spencer should be able to see this. So, oh, yeah. Okay, that is...
Well, Matt isn't very good with the computer, as you can tell.
Well, when everyone sends me different file sizes, it's kind of hard to have it to just be super consistent. So, all right, so this one is going to be from Connor Steele. This is a 2019 CRF 450 RX. What modifications are Michelin mousses front and rear, spare set of wheels for track riding, STI tires, AHM suspension with Colton Udall Baja setting, AHM billet linkage for CRF 450L headlight, plastic with Baja Designs 450L headlight, all custom brackets to mount the headlight, rewound stator by Ricky Stator, BRP upper clamp, Scott's stabilizer, Tusk braided front brake line off of the 250X to clear the headlight, Source off-road wire harness for headlight, Cherubi's head guards, ODI lock-on grips, ARC clutch perch, Perch spelled Purch, by the way.
Oh, it's because it's a fish.
Yeah. So stock bars, IMS 3-gallon tank with dry brake, Moto cuts, graphics, stock skid plate, DID ERV7 chain, Dirt Tricks 49 tooth rear sprocket, Recluse torque drive clutch, stock seat. Says you don't need seat concepts if you stand. BRP chain guide, gusset and welded swing arm at chain guide brackets. Stock pipe because bike makes plenty of power, and hashtag kickstands are cool.
Okay, I like most of that, but I'm Scott. Are you Colton Udall, and why do you have his suspension? I mean, shouldn't you have Scott's suspension?
Right.
That's like somebody saying, "I want Jimmy Lewis suspension." Like, are you sure? Yeah. What do you think, Spencer? You've got to comment on these. You got to comment on these. What'd you have to do? Take a call over there?
Yeah.
Turn off your alarm clock?
I love the headlight. I don't know what kind of headlight that is, but I like it.
It's what did he say?
It's a Baja Designs. Let me see here.
But it's thrown into a stock headlight shell.
Yeah, so he took the headlight shell from
Yeah.
The headlight shell is from a 450L, and then he just threw the Baja Designs headlight in there. He did a lot of custom stuff to make that headlight shell.
Yeah, like that's the kind of stuff that Moto Minded makes. They make these insets and stuff, but I don't know if they do. I know they do a lot of KTM and Husky and gas stuff, but I'm not sure about the Honda stuff. But that's I like this good
bike.
look. I'm scared of the tires, personally. But we have a lot of conflicting sponsors there, but I appreciate everybody helping out there. He did recognize that Seat Concepts is a sponsor of the show.
Yep.
I don't sit down.
Actually pays attention.
I don't sit down that much either, and I really like him. So, yeah.
I like that he's got his bike on a bike stand instead of on the kickstand.
For the photo.
For the photo.
Yeah.
That really adds to it.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go with Roost on this one. I'm gonna give it a Roost.
It's a Roost for me as well.
Yeah.
Is a Roost or Endo for you, Spencer?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess is that good?
Roost is good. Endo is bad.
Okay, yeah, it's good.
So it's Roost.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
And when you hear when guys like do the welding, the extra little bracket on the swing arm and stuff, that's that little bit of extra attention to detail that really gives a bike, some stuff.
All right. Whoa, of course. See what I mean by it's different sizes every time? So I always got to resize it.
I don't see what you mean.
Okay.
It's like you just push a button.
All right. So 2022, this is from Leon McMillan. 2022 KTM 350 EXCF. ARC composite clutch and brake levers. Reflex headset mount bar guards. Emperor Racing one-piece radiator guard. Molecule plastic skid plate. Guts Racing low seat foam with stock blue KTM seat cover. Taco Moto items include a slim headlight / control switch, billet engine oil cap, ATK magnetic oil filter, tidy tail light assembly, wraparound LED turn signals, billet fuel tank outlet, then back from not Taco Moto stuff, CP stainless fuel line with quick connect, a Golin fuel filter, STR G10 rear brake guard, STR fork bleeders, SKF fork mud scrapers, Dirt Tricks 13-tooth front sprocket and dome washer with Renthal 48-tooth rear. ProTech lower fork guards. Enduro Pro swing arm chain guide bolt protector. Enduro Pro front wheel bearing caps. Tusk rear wheel bearing caps. Bulletproof rear end adjusters with stainless bolts. I run the perforated. Perforated air box cover when I ride non-dusty conditions. When you see the list being this compact as it is, it's hard to read.
We used to call this, Spencer, we used to call it Roost, Endo, or for sale, because we found that people were just like, they'd make their for sale list and they're going to sell their bike. They just send it to us.
The producer may or may not have sold a bike through this show.
Yeah, it's Ricky Brabeck's done it too. Every time Ricky puts a bike up here, he sells it. I'm like, what? He's all, yeah, it works. People see it and they call me.
Yeah.
They go, you want to sell that, dude? And he's like, yep.
All right, so currently running Tusk EMX 35 front and rear tires with stock rim locks. engine and ECUs all stock except for removing the evap parts. Suspension's 100% stock, and some other miscellaneous items that he forgot to mention.
I hope he punched out the little perf thing at the end of the muffler. That's the only thing I hope. And on this bike, I'm completely 100% sitting on the wall. And I'm going to tell you why. I mean, it looks like a nice bike other than the low seat. Has lots of stuff. Definitely some, conflicting sponsors there. But did he use our pass through when he ordered all of his Tusk stuff at Rocky Mountain? That's what I need to know. That's how I could determine whether this thing roosts or endos. Because if he did, then it roosts.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't, then it endos.
This one is going to roost for me because he actually sent me a very detailed list. He actually had sub-bullet points.
Sub-bullet points.
Yeah.
And you being a physicist, you like a lot of sub-bullet points.
I can appreciate when data is organized.
Spencer?
I don't know, the low seat, being a seat guy, the low seat kills it for me. It looks like a dirt track.
Yeah, well, maybe he has short legs. What do you know what he's I just tell him get your butt off the seat and put one foot down,
Yeah. I don't know what the criteria for Roost or
it's your criteria, you make the call. You're the guy on the other end.
compared to the last bike, I think this one's an Endo.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm undecided. Do we know if he's in the chat?
No, I'm not seeing him in the chat.
That's good because then I'm going to go with the Endo until he tells me I will rescind my Endo and go with the Roost if we can figure out if he used our link. And there's no way we can figure it out. But boy, I just sure like to pump that up. And then if you are, going for a future Roost or Endo submission, and you put that in there, we used your link. It's good. Help us out.
Yeah, please do. All right, next up. She's in the chat. This is Brenda Hansen. A 1999 KTM 250 EXC. Recluse Z-Start auto clutch.
Wait, that's a 250, not a 200?
This is what she told me.
I would have said, look at that pipe. That pipe just screams 200, but maybe back in what year?
99.
99, I think maybe they were a little bit different because it does have the conventional forks.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, okay.
So, Recluse Z-Start auto clutch, AJP left-hand rear brake with custom hose, GPR stabilizer, FMF 909 bars, pivot pegs, KTM oversized radiators, KTM radiator braces, precision concept suspension, KTM SX tank with a Cherubies plastics, Electron carb, 1352 gearing primary drive, Tusk handguards, E-Rider chain guide, Scott's rear shark fin, black XL rims, front Tusk Recon tire, rear Pirelli MT43 tire, tubeless with tire balls front and rear, V-Force 3 reed cage, Pro Circuit pipe, Moose pipe armor, Pro Circuit 296 spark arrestor, Guts foam neutron seat cover, Tugger straps, fork brace Summers racing components, aluminum skid plate, which is unknown, and dirt bike gear tool bag.
Yeah, so this looks like Arizona. Looks like Arizona last week because the flowers are just coming out. What it looks like to me. Mm-hmm. She's in the chat.
Makes me homesick.
The desert.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Spence, you ever come out here? Hit me up. I mean, if you're ever going in and out of Vegas, let me know. I got. You just bring some gear.
Yep.
And we got dirt bikes going nuts out here. The 50 millimeter extreme forks. I remember when there was a big debate over whether upside down was better than conventional and vice versa.
I think that debate's been settled, huh?
It seems like, yeah, there's been a consensus. But because I think that when the whole upside down thing, it was a lot of it had to do with unsprung weight. They wanted to get that the heavier stuff kind of connected to the. And it depends on which is heavier because the sliders used to be pretty heavy back in the days and vice versa. They've managed to switch stuff around, but I'm for an old bike, and it's definitely a 250. It's funny, the pipe just screams 200 because the 200 used to kind of squish down a lot like that. it seems like it's pretty well set up. I'm going Roost on this one. I think somebody,
Roost for me, because if you're
Yeah.
keeping a bike for this long and you're still keeping it that clean, you obviously love it.
yeah.
She's out there riding in
And
it.
she doesn't have a low seat on it either.
No low seat.
No.
No, this is a Roost, hard Roost for me.
Yeah. I'm going Roost with this thing for sure.
Organized list as well.
Yeah,
Organized list. Yeah, it's good.
I'll go with Roost
She had
as
bullet
well
points.
because it's a 2-stroke and the good scenery in the background.
Good.
Yeah,
Making
yeah,
Spencer
that's a good
a
photo.
couple little flowers. Yeah, got a
I will-
barrel cactus in the back. Big.
I will say this week
Saguaro
we've
cactus.
gotten much better pictures submissions this week.
Oh well, last week was the worst ever. Is everybody's garage,
Yep,
the back of their truck.
and everyone is now put more effort in. All right.
Hey,
this
if
is
you're in the chat right now, let us know where you're from, because I'm always interested to see where people are kind of checking the show out. Especially since we're kind of coming on early. I'm expecting we might have a little bit more of a
East Coast crowd.
Yeah, because we usually everybody's past their bedtime.
Okay, this is from Kenny Brown.
Okay, Kenny.
2022.
I got some stuff, some takes.
2022 KTM 500 EXCF, Takamoto tuned Athena Git ECU with Wi-Fi and traction control, Fastway end cap with ultra silent insert, seat concept seat, a Cherubies full set of plastics from day zero, haven't found graphics that speak to me yet, a Cherubies Moto side covers, a Cherubies skid plate, Recluse Radius CX clutch, Tusk handguards, Tusk rear rack, Tusk thin headlight switch housing. I really hope he also used our affiliate link.
Yeah.
Double take mirrors, Amazon Bioco LED headlight, much better than stock, but not $400. Polysport swing arm protector, and a few other bits. Eastern Kentucky, where the sticks turn into twigs.
The sticks turn into twigs. Okay, so what's the when we have our classes and people are renting bikes and I pull them over, what's the one thing I tell them
already
that
know
they
what it
can't
is.
do,
Yeah.
that they absolutely are not allowed to do with a KTM?
And you're not, KTM especially. As soon as I saw this, I was like, oh,
I'm gonna go off on it.
yeah, I almost did.
So
Kenny, I believe, is in the chat.
yeah, he's in the chat.
This is not
so
for sale.
so I got a couple. So number one, so I tell people, like, if you're on a KTM and you're the first thing you do when you touch the bike is put the kickstand up.
Yep.
You do not, under any circumstances,
Josh is with us. on
prop
this.
your wife up on top of your bike next to a swamp on a KTM kickstand, because that bolt is made out of like tinfoil. The kickstand's meant to maybe hold up the weight of the bike, and so I'm kind of curious. Did she fall in?
And is the kickstand okay?
Is the kickstand okay? Jeez, Matt.
No, it's
that
just,
wasn't very nice.
No, okay. I did
It's
not
like-
mean it like that. It's just I have seen it.
Oh, just seen the kickstand just bend and go.
Well, no,
actually, the
that
kickstand
bolt.
doesn't bend. The bolt just
It's
bends.
that bolt, yeah.
And then your kickstand's rubbing on your swing arm for some strange reason. I actually like the graphics package he has, because I have a KTM 500 has the exact same graphics package as that one. It was a 6 days, and I turned it into exactly that with some nice Cherubies plastic. So,
Yeah.
I
mean, if you don't have sponsors, why do you need graphics?
right. We should get him some dirt bike test stickers.
Oh, sure. Oh, definitely. Oh, 100 pounds. Yeah.
Oh, she's only 100 pounds. Okay.
That's
That's 100 pounds
irrelevant.
too much.
Yeah.
And I'm not complaining about her weight.
No.
Any weight on that bike other than the bike is
God,
thing.
I'm tripping over myself here because now I know what I just implied. But no, it's if it's a 10-pound baby on it, you probably shouldn't even put it on the bike.
Yeah, don't put your baby on your KTM either, especially next to a swamp.
Yeah.
What do you think they have in, where do you say? Where's
Eastern Kentucky.
Kentucky? What do you think they have in the swamp besides dead bodies of other girlfriends or wives that have fallen off the bike that he shot the pictures of?
I don't know.
Snakes.
Oh, snakes.
Swamp snakes, yeah.
Got it.
has to be
I
on
like
the
this
winter.
bike.
There's effort put into the photo.
Yes.
Granted.
Well, think about it. Like,
yeah.
think about me trying to get Heather to do that.
Yeah.
I'd get beat up, I think.
His wife's obviously cool enough to sit on the bike.
She would do it, but but she'd want to take the picture. That's the problem. She likes the camera.
Yeah. Why don't you sit on your bikes like that while she takes pictures of you? Put on the Cherubies sexy shirt and you pose like that.
Oh, Wow, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Roost.
Yeah. It's a Roost for me, but don't sit on the kickstand with the
Yeah.
kickstand down.
I almost just went nuts. She can swim,
Yeah.
but you misspelled it.
Hey, the A is right next to the S on the keyboard. We can forgive him.
Right.
It's a Roost for me for sure.
Yeah, Roost.
Check your kickstand bolt.
Yeah, it's a reluctant
Spencer, where you at
Roost
with
for
this?
me as well.
Reluctant
Nice.
Roost. What's the reluctancy?
Just the kickstand and just I guess the pose picture.
Torturing your wife to sit on a motorcycle. We will pick on almost anything here.
Yep. I think my favorite submission still is the guy who just photoshopped a model in.
Oh,
Because you said the week before you said we need models in these submissions. And
Yeah.
you just photoshopped one in. All right. This is Jason Miller, a 2017 KTM 150 XCW, raw and black cylinder head mod, Electron carb, Dalsagio, I pronounced that wrong, mid valve in the fork, BDP radiator guards, Enduro Engineering skid plate, FMF turbine core, D803 rear tire. He calls it the original cheater. Cycra hand guards, Scott's steering dampener, and poor man's race numbers. Oh, this bike roosts for me.
Well,
It's an instant roost for me.
because of the race numbers.
There's something about electrical tape on a number plate that just makes my heart happy.
Oh,
I think it's because my first and only ever motocross race, I had to do that.
I've done that lots of times, and the shame you get from doing it, I still feel.
Oh, it's not shame. It means either you were there last minute, so you're probably.
What did you run for numbers this weekend?
They actually had temporary number plates that they would just give you.
Oh, okay.
So I was number 1509 with a yellow sticker on it to mark my class.
Intermediate,
Yeah, like middle of the road.
amateur, or whatever.
Amateur is what they called it at this organization. But I beat the two expert guys that have come in and co-hosted for us regularly before.
Yeah, one of them's wadded up, and the other one doesn't know how to change a tire.
Yep.
Which is good for them.
As you told me, you gotta have the full program.
You gotta have the full program. So he's right about that. The original quote, the original cheater tire was the Pirelli MT43, and then it was funny because these older guys. Well, actually, the Michelin. So maybe it was the Michelin Trials tire, but then it threw knobs. And then they all started going to the Pirelli, and then Dunlop kind of came out. They had an 801, and the 801 was so much better than 803, but it also started chucking knobs. So the 803 was kind of combat that, and it still does, believe it or not. So it's only 150. It's not going to go fast enough to throw the knobs off. Looks like a good trail riding bike. Is it a low seat? Do you say low seat or not?
You didn't mention a low seat.
I wonder if he has a front disc protector. Spencer, what's your
No,
opinion
I can
on
see it.
front disc protectors?
I mean, we ran them. And
Oh, but you ran like nice carbon fiber or plastic shields.
yeah.
I'm talking about those billet aluminum ones. By the way, Bulletproof Designs does make a really nice front disc protector. You know whose front disc I was straightening out the other week?
Oh, who's that?
Logan's dad, Jimmy's.
Oh, Jimmy Tyler's.
Yeah, Jimmy Tyler's. I was out there with my crescent wrench getting that disc rotor straight because he had somehow dinged it. I told him, I said, maybe you should get a disc protector. Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah, this one roosts for me. I like 150s. I don't know if I like the 150 XCs just because I don't have any time on them, but I agree with the points that you're making. The 200s probably.
You didn't get.
I got the 125 XC.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah,
And
'cause I know we had one
really
here for a while.
I actually really like that bike. I did the write up for that, and it was a fun bike.
Yeah, the 150 just has a little bit more torque, and I think it's a much better bike. In all honesty, I think it.
Than the 125.
Yeah,
But I agree that it's just from my experience with the 125. I don't think it's better than the 200.
Depends how fat you are. If you're a small skinny guy, the 150s are pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
But they just don't transition over to us larger folks. That's why they made fuel injected 300s that are light. Roost. I'm gonna go Roost. I'm gonna be nice because you know what, the photo's good. He followed all the rules. It did everything. He did everything right. I'm liking it. I think it's a good bike, and it took some balls to send that in. You could have photoshopped out the the duct tape numbers. but electrical tape numbers.
No, keep them in. That's character.
I mean, but you instead of just doing the straight cuts, could you think you could have floated a little bit, like actually curved the 3?
No, don't try to stylize it. Just let it be what it is.
Oh, come on, Spencer.
It's got to be janky. You
okay,
embrace it. It's electrical
No,
tape.
it's definitely a Roost.
It's a Roost.
Because the it looks like a fun bike to ride, and it's got a trial tire. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if you were going to put 403, your 4 would have a little bit more of a curve to it. In your 3, I mean, even with electrical tape, you could probably pull this off, make it a little more Sano.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's like trying to upgrade the suspension on a KLR. It is electrical tape. It is supposed to look janky, and just embrace it. Be what it is. Don't try to stylize it.
I guess it really depends on how much time you had.
But don't put lipstick on a pig
at the races. To do this. If he did this the night before, I'm looking for some more curves in that 3. I want it to, and I'll tell you what, from somebody who's done this before, I not only would like throw the curves in with that electrical tape, and if you warmed it up a little bit while you're doing it, you get those nice curves. You can actually take a razor blade and afterwards like retrim a little bit and make it really shapely. Like you could do a double layer around the perimeter of the 3, and that middle thing you could cut it down into a single side.
Okay, but Jimmy, it's still electrical tape numbers.
Okay, not everybody can afford graphics kits.
Hey, I would argue the electrical tape looks better than the sticker that I had to run for my number on the number plate this week.
Okay, yeah. Asher says, I use electrical tape for all my races. It's always fun to count all the people with the proper stickers you pass. I don't like doing math that much, but yeah.
It was fun.
Man, we have people from all over the place. I saw Montana, a few more Kingston. Oh, I know where Dean Kemp's from. Yeah, that's Nevada. Yeah, we have a few people from a little bit farther to the east. Yeah. So pretty cool. Everybody, yeah, thanks for joining in, and we appreciate the support and stuff. So now, is that it? We've gone through the submissions.
That's it. It's time to pick the winner of the $200 Taco Moto gift certificate.
Yeah, we're giving it all away this time. You know what? I'm going to start doing this now. If all the submissions suck, it's going to get rolled over to the next week.
Well, we always said it's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. I make the rules, right?
Right. I have a winner in mind, but my opinion doesn't matter.
I'm gonna go last. Since it's my show, I'm going last. So Spencer, who wins?
No, I'm not going to decide who wins.
Yeah, you do. You decide right now, and then
we decide by committee before he vetoes it.
Hey, well, the thing is, when I say I'm going last, I already know who's going to win in my head. But you could potentially change my mind. Here, I'm gonna have a shot at tequila just to make it even easier. Tonight's tequila. Who's our? This I picked up in Cabo, but not on my. Whoops! I got to move it over this way. Not on my last trip because I didn't have. I had to fly with. I bought the Such the Poor Person plane ticket. I couldn't even take a bag on the plane.
Really?
Only my body. That
Spirit?
was all. It was a Mexican airline.
Oh, okay.
I flew domestic Mexican.
Nice.
Yeah. It was good, but yeah, really cheap. Actually, the ticket could have been $38, but since we didn't know which day we were leaving, I had to wait. Yeah, Cabo to Tijuana for $38. So ended up costing $150 in the end. So okay, Spencer, who wins?
Well, I guess I would pick the KTM in the desert. I don't know which one that was.
The one with the cactus in the picture, that was
Brenda's bike.
Hansen.
Okay.
That one was winning it for me.
Yes.
But we always say the winner is the one that brings you the most joy. Mm-hmm. And the electrical tape conversation brought me joy. So Jason Miller is my winner. Because maybe he can afford a graphics kit, or at least number plates.
I'll tell you what. I'm not going to kid you. The electrical tape numbers were probably the highlight of that bike, which is really, really kind of horrible because that would be a fun bike to ride. And the fact that he's ballsy enough to run a trials tire, because these days everybody, all the quote the hardcore guys are all running gummies, and the only thing I noticed about guys that don't know how to use a gummy is their tire wears out quicker and they dig bigger trenches. So kudos to you for running a trials tire, because you can't spin your tire with a trials tire, not because it doesn't spin, but if it does, it doesn't work. So good on that. I was really stoked on, what's the guy's name who put his wife on the bike?
Oh, Kenny Brown.
Kenny Brown. And man, that was a hard one to pull off. I was pretty close. For her effort, I want to give it to you, but I can't go against my principles, and you can't put any extra weight on a KTM kickstand. It's a bad example of a good roosting bike.
He did send me another picture of her standing next to it.
Okay. So Kenny, guess what? You get to blame Matt.
Yeah. No. He just sent it.
He just picked.
He just sent it.
Just said it.
Yeah.
You think they're watching the show by the lake right now?
Maybe.
No, it'd be dark out there.
Yeah.
ready to live stream your Rooster Endo thing.
You can't change your submission photo though.
Yeah. I'm going with Brenda. Is it Brenda? It's
Brenda. Yeah.
I'm going with Brenda. A, she's been active in the chat. B, I like that her bike, she's keeping her bike running. I guarantee you there's some cool stuff at Tacomo that she could use. It made Spencer happy, and Spencer picked it. And
it was my second.
I think that's good. So yeah, Brenda, I think you won 2-1 because Matt's vote doesn't really even count around here.
Yeah, I'm just the producer.
Yeah. So good job, Spencer. You picked the right one. You're a winner too.
Go ahead and email me, and we will get you set up with that Tacomo gift certificate. Thank you.
Yeah, it's $200 this time. So yeah, just so now we're gonna have people waiting until we get a whole bunch of bad submissions until we have to roll it over. Could you imagine if it rolled over like 3 or 4 times?
God.
If we start getting really picky just to up the ante. Well, the problem is so we're doing like 5 a show, and I could see this is just me talking about like the dynamics. I could just be a real prick and just not win. Nobody wins. So you have like 15 or 20 people and one happy person. Isn't that how you make satisfied customers? Yeah. So she's gonna use the money already. She tells us in the chat to rebuild the bike again this summer.
Yep,
so
yeah, awesome.
Ride the wheels off of it and have a good one.
And if you have any questions during that rebuild, just let us know.
Yeah. Actually, if you, I parted out a 390 or 360. I think that's what they were at that time. So if you need any weird, quirky parts for that particular bike, I have one that's pretty much framed. I actually stole the washers off of the clutch for my Husaberg, by the way, when I was rebuilding that clutch. And I still need, if anybody knows where I can get a Husaberg 650 internal clutch basket, made in Sweden, by the way, let me know. So, she has a 97 360 as well. It's your favorite bike. How the hell can you jet that thing? Those are hard bikes to jet. Okay. Do we have any other questions up in the chat or stuff?
Not necessarily in the chat. I do have some.
Oh, we have some on the sheet here.
Yeah, we still have some in the sheet. So Sean Elliott had a second question after his magnetic one, which was, why does Dakar keep having water enter their fuel?
It depends on who you ask. Because water in the fuel happens because they transport it in drums, and who knows how long the drums have been sitting out, and of course when it was raining up there, if it's raining and maybe the drum is hot and then a rain shower comes in and it's cold and the cap isn't tight and the top of the drum has water sitting on it, and then it cools down and sucks, not air now, it sucks water right into it. That's one way that can happen. Water can actually pass through the metal somehow. Am I right in this, Spencer? Like if you have a drum sitting on a cement floor?
Yeah, I think
moisture can...
I'm not entirely sure, but I think there's some kind of...
Like you never really want to have a drum just sitting solid on a cement floor. I always slide a small piece of wood underneath mine so there's air venting underneath it because the moisture can condense underneath there, and I've heard that it does that. Oh, she used an electron carburetor. That's how she jetted her KTM 360. Well, I tell you what, you sure as hell couldn't do it with the old Kian, and I don't think the Mikuni was any better. It was a hard bike to jet. They just didn't have the right kind of condensation buildup internally. Yeah, and like if you're dealing with like a fuel that's a non-ethanol fuel, and I'm pretty sure in Saudi Arabia they're probably non-ethanol fuel, there's no place for that water to go. the ethanol will actually absorb it and stuff. So it ends up down at the bottom. So these tanks, they unload them out of the truck, they sit, the water goes down, they drop the pump in there, it pulls off the bottom, and water goes into the first bit is water. So that's why you'll notice that nobody wants to pull into the fuel pump first. You wait for somebody else to get gas first. Or if you're smart, you actually have them raise the pump up out of the drum and then pull. This is stuff that you should know. I mean, I knew this back in the day, but I also had carburetors. They were called Bings, and my carburetor was held on with a big clip that you'd pop the clip in the bowl. And since my 2 carburetors, because I was on a twin-cylinder bike, I didn't ride these little girly bikes these guys do today, Ricky. I would actually pull the clip, and I would just take the bowl and I dump it out, and not only the water and the gas, the dirty stuff in the gas, that would fall out too. And if it made the float stick, I could just pull the thing out, drop the clip, pop it back in, and in about 3 minutes, I could drain all my gas, dirty gas, and water out, and I could keep going. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but anyways,
didn't you beat up a bunch of tires in that thing?
Oh, my twin cylinder bike that made 140 horsepower. Yeah, they didn't make mooses very well. Well, actually, it's a bad story. Yeah, yeah, it's like the career-ending injuries because of that shit. I think, I don't know. And maybe because if I was a better rider, I probably wouldn't hit the ditch. Who knows?
All right. So
okay,
we're gonna skip one of the ones here because I thought it was a question and it was just a comment. So on XT250 review, I know you didn't ride this bike, but the question...
I have ridden it.
Okay, so then you can answer this question, which I already know the answer to, I'm pretty sure. Russ Hughes was asking, can you jump it?
Oh, hell yeah. Like, what motorcycle can you not jump? Like, you can jump any motorcycle. You can jump the cheapest piece of junk Chinese motorcycle. You can jump it. The landing is what we have to talk about. Continue.
He's a first-time rider. He's deciding between the Honda 300L and the Yamaha XT250. Thank you. My 2 cents is the XT250, just for the weight.
Oh boy, Russ, as a first-time rider, and the fact that you want to jump these are the wrong bikes to be looking at. 100%. Unless for some reason you need a license plate. Because I'm trying to correlate jumping and XT and CRF, L.
Yeah.
I'm because there's even if it was like you get the CRF F, the 250F, or you could get the
TTR.
The TTR, yeah, the same. You get the same sort of bikes and a little more dirt trim, which will jump and land a little bit better.
Not much better.
But not much.
That's good.
So I don't know why you're jumping on anyways. So, boy, I'm trying to think out of the box, because between those two things, if you were going to jump them, they're the same. There's no difference. It depends on what color you like to see when you're jumping. or whichever photo will look better when you're jumping. But I would honestly look at seeing if you could buy something like an older used dual sport bike that's maybe like an older KTM that has a license plate, or something that was based a little bit more off of a competition bike, or maybe he's short or something and he's worried about thing, or maybe he's a kid that's moving up. I don't have enough Russ information to actually
answer
make this, but I'm guessing kid with the jump and maybe just moving up and wanting something that he can ride around town.
Probably like a young teenager.
You know what might be actually pretty cool at that is potentially like one of those Suron kind of things.
Those
one of the electric kind of bikes, because they're a little bit mountain bikey. That might work. Do you have kids ripping around town and stuff on those things? Does that happen in your world yet?
Yeah, I've seen a few, but not many.
Yeah, that's starting to hit. They're like these little electric half mountain bike, half motorcycle things. They got super popular in certain places, like over in Hawaii. Everybody's riding them, and for sure they make a lot of sense. Used DRZ. Suzuki DRZ 400 would be a pretty good bike for him also. if he's looking for a little more jumpy.
Hey, next time we have Big John on the show, we'll have to ask him about his KLR jump.
I don't.
He can tell you how good KLRs jump.
Not very well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, maybe running from the cops. What?
Yeah. I mean, if you have a good Dukes of Hazzard.
So he wants a bike that he can run from the cops.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that's
ringers off.
That's good.
I love my
Ringers. You know what? I don't even have mine off. It's lucky you told me that, Matt. Jeez.
Yeah. For the last 7 minutes of the show, which don't we have a product of the week, Jimmy?
Product of the week. Oh yeah, is that a segment we do on this show?
Yeah, brought to you by Bulletproof Designs.
Okay, so Bulletproof Designs is proud to let you know about. This is something I just got in the mail the other day.
All right,
which is pretty cool. Go to the Jimmy Cam. So Trail Tech has a little new product. This, and it's funny because I was just showing a bunch of guys on my mountain bike ride something very much just like this that I've been carrying around. Mm-hmm. But this is a portable air pump, and it also it'll recharge your iPhone and stuff like this. But so what it has, it's this little box. It's basically a battery, and it has an LED screen. It's a digital, and then you have this little, and I'm getting it out here now with the instructions, and then you have this little thing here. That's the cable, and you basically, not cable, but the thing, you screw it in there, screw it on your tire, screw it in, push the button, and it will pump your tire up. So it's a Trail Tech thing. It's a new thing. I wonder if it makes noise or anything like that, but actually I got to pull this screen off here. There it goes. Oh, I got to turn it on. There we go. On. There we go. And you can set the pressure. Like right now it's set for 38, so it's obviously set for a street bike tire. Mm-hmm. But I could actually just, bring that thing down, like set it to 12, hook it on my bike, go zzz, and then you have your air pressure. And I haven't used this one yet, but I have one for a mountain bike that's about half this size.
Okay.
Super lightweight one. And I've used it on motorcycle rides before, and I'm kind of, I remember I talked about how cool it was, and next thing Trail Tech comes out with it, which is super awesome. This feels like, based on the battery weight and stuff, that it would do like 3 to 4 motorcycle tires, because my mountain bike one will do 1.5 motorcycle tires. And how do I know this?
Putting the test in dirt bike test?
No, because we had more than one flat tire in it, and it did 1.5, and it saved me a lot of the pumping with the little teeny tiny pump that I carry around. Yeah. So, but anyways, Trail Tech bringing you this new pump. Go to trailtech.net is where you can find their stuff. Trail Tech, of course, a sponsor of the show. They make the Voyager Pro GPS unit. Check out the new aluminum docks. If you've been having problems with your plastic dock for your Voyager Pro, the new aluminum one has improved springs inside of it, so we don't have the charging issues that you can have with the older ones. So go to trailtech.net to check that kind of stuff out. What else do we have to do before it's your bedtime, Matt? Spencer's bedtime.
Well, I don't know if there's any stories you guys wanted to share, but
you wanted to hear what was the best part about living at my house, Spencer?
I guess just you never knew what you were going to do, like, riding wise, or because I come home on a Friday night and you're frantically looking for, laundry jugs or bleach jugs to carry gas. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to go for a ride. And I go 220 miles without fuel going to Death Valley. And you're like, I'm thinking, you're nuts. You're going Friday night, stretching fuel to Death Valley, and
no cell phones, by the way.
Yeah, no cell phone. By yourself.
Yeah, it's just another Friday night, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, did I have the skateboard ramp in the backyard?
Oh yeah.
When you lived there?
Yeah, we built that.
Yeah, skateboard ramp in the backyard. Were you there when it got torn down?
No,
it was still up when you left.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we progressed to a mini bike track with an over and under bridge. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
I remember the mini bike track.
Yeah.
I think I came over for that, but
yeah.
But yeah, going down the Sheep Hills, and is that place still there?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's still there. Yeah. It's all legit now. It's like a county park, and they let the kids, build the jumps and do all this stuff. So pretty cool. Worst part of living there. probably watching me work on motorcycles.
No, I mean, I don't remember anything too bad. Just
Yeah.
the little garage was a struggle.
Yeah, because
you made it bigger, right?
Well, yeah, I ended up tearing. So I tore down the single car garage and pushed the house halfway into where that garage used to be, and then we built a 2-car garage in the back. That's when I think that was around the time that the mini bike track showed up.
Oh, okay.
I just remember there's a lot of construction, a lot of stuff going on at that time. So Josh wants to know, does Spencer still ride, and if so, what is he on?
Well, I have 2 bikes. I have the bike that I built for Dirt Rider back when I don't know. I think you were still there. And
I would hope so.
yeah, I don't remember the years or whatever, but it was before I left Kawasaki, and I was building that 2-stroke in a 450 frame, 2-stroke
Right.
250. And I got it probably 85%, and it was all out of destroy bike parts. So the frame was, a prototype or whatever. And so luckily, when I left Kawasaki, they were just like, we don't want to know anything about it, because it really had it needed to be destroyed, but they let me have it.
It was all crusher parts, correct?
Yeah. So I got that still. And then
I remember you had it. I knew you were building it, and you wouldn't let me ride it because you thought I wanted to do a story about it. And I did. I definitely wanted to. Yeah, you built it for that, but you didn't want me to ride it until it was done. And I just wanted to ride it just to see where it was at, because you were like, I don't even know if this thing's going to work.
Yeah.
And I think you did let me ride it once before you brought it out to. Did you bring it to the 24-hour test or something?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
But it wasn't.
It.
Yeah, it wasn't run as like one of our test bikes. It was just out there to kind of ride and do something with.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember it was a little. It needed some work. It was good. It was Sano. Like when you looked at it, everything about it was. That's the way you should do this, because we'd had, and you'd known this because I bring them home to be in the garage. We'd have like CR 500s that were dropped into CRF 250F chassis and things, and you just look at the welds and all the stuff like that. Like Spencer's bike was everything was just super tight. But I remember riding it, and the good thing, the good and the bad thing, an aluminum frame tells you how crappy 2-stroke motors were in balance and vibration and all this stuff. It highlighted it, but it just felt like that motor needed to be moved around a little bit in the chassis, and then also some of the rigidity, like you talk about, like frame flex. The motor was probably about the same weight as a KX 250F, correct?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, looking back, I tied the back, the steering head, tied it kind of like what I was telling you with the YZ450. It's pretty much solid right there. So I need to do something with that, because it doesn't have like engine hangers coming down. It's pretty solid. So
yeah. Have you seen where KTM is now bolting their engine hangers? They're not coming off that top spar frame. They're coming way off the back tube,
really?
And they're big and long, and they're almost coming from the back part of the triangle as opposed to the upper part of the triangle, where was always typical, like where head stays. So that was
there's a lot of geometry and flex and stuff. It makes big difference.
Yeah. So that's your one bike, and what's your other one?
KTM 300. I don't know the terminology. Is it EX something?
XCW. It's 2-stroke, right?
Yeah, 2-stroke.
Yeah. But carbureted.
No, fuel injected.
Oh, you got the fuel inject one.
I think it's 18, I believe. 2018.
Probably 19.
19, maybe.
Maybe they had. I think 250s they had in 18, and then 19 was when they started having the 300s. You could probably correct me on that, but yeah, I got one of those. That's a good bike.
Yeah, I actually got it from a friend of mine in Arizona. He had a plate on it. I'm trying to figure out how to put a plate on in South Carolina. So I don't know if that's possible.
Well, I've heard, I don't know about South Carolina, but I have some friends up in Philly. I heard if you can ride a wheelie at 12 o'clock, that you don't have to have a license plate because I can't see it.
Yeah.
So I got some kids down the street here that think the same things, but they tend to not have fenders on their bikes anymore because they loop out a lot. But so no, cool. And you got some good trails in your area. I know this.
Yes. Yeah, I wish I got to ride more, but it definitely hurts that we don't have the track because I had the trails all over the JGRMX property, and unfortunately that's sold and no longer. But
yeah, you're also running the skid steer on that thing, keeping that track prepped up.
Excavator, bulldozer. Yeah, that was kind of fun.
Hey, we're building a motocross track out here in Pahrump town. Our town is actually the county, and the town are building a motocross track. So when we get that done, I'll have to have you come out and tune that thing up for us.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything about. I was driving a tractor today, but all I can do is smash into bushes and then drag bushes around with it. I'm good at that. Kind of like my whole life, just smash into stuff. Dave Donnelly has one last question before we let you go, Spencer. He says, Spencer had a great point about stretching out fuel to Death Valley. What's the best way to maximize your fuel mileage?
Who are you asking? Me?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
carry a bunch of extra gas and just turn the throttle like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't turn the throttle that far. That's the best way to maximize your fuel mileage. Bikes, there's a certain point that I've found where bikes are like, I'll call it volumetrically efficient. Like there's a speed and a gear ratio and an RPM and stuff where you can actually stretch it out. And what's interesting is a lot of the bikes now that have this instant miles per gallon stuff on the adventure bikes, like my Tenere does, it's amazing. And it was exactly what I always felt is when you're kind of like low throttle position and medium RPM. It's just I think it's kind of where the torque is sort of peaked out, 5,000-6,000 RPM, and the bike just goes, and you don't have to really roll into the throttle that heavy to kind of keep it going. When you start realizing the more you roll in, the less acceleration you get, that's bad. So I don't know what that's. I've always just felt it because there's places where, like we were saying, I had to stretch out 200 miles of range into 240 miles of range somehow. So. Anyways, right on. Spencer, Matt's really impressed with you as a co-host.
It was cool hearing old JGR stories.
Old JGR, man, he's probably got a lot of them. It's funny because after we do these shows, you always say, "Man, I wish we would have talked about this and that." So when you remember those, we'll bring you back.
Yeah.
Tell all the crazy stories. I know you've worked with a lot of crazy riders and probably seen way more stuff. We should probably get a collection of pictures of all the cool things he built. I know I still have some Spencer things laying around. Like that helmet is up in the rafters here.
Oh, is it?
In the collector's item. Yeah, I just bring it out to show the kids when they start talking about, we're gonna GoPro this, and I'm like, here, put this on.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll show them that Dumont Dunes footage.
I remember at one time we got from Mojave Bob, we got a lipstick cam. We were so pumped that we had the actual lipstick cam.
It was a lipstick camera. It was in the nose of a thing that was supposed to crash or blow up. Usually Mojave Bob is actually sitting in here, but I've obviously scared him away, so he doesn't come and hang out. He used to come in live for the shows. He lives here in Pahrump now. But it was in something that's sort of like exploded or whatever, but they recovered it and it came out of it, and Bob just kind of had it, and he's like, here, take this. But here's the problem. We had to plug it into a full-size VHS deck recorder that ran off a 12-volt battery. So remember, the lipstick cam was cool because all of a sudden all that weight was off your head. But what was in our back?
Yeah.
Remember, like we couldn't carry like food up into the mountains because we had to carry this high 8, or it was actually it was recording on these. It was called a Muntz, was the recorder that we were recording off of, and with a 12-volt battery inside. And I think you even made something so we actually wired it up to the bike.
I don't remember.
But we still have that really good video of Jason hitting his hand on a tree and breaking his finger.
Oh yeah, I
Just
remember.
falling him. Lipstick came where he cried, or I made baby sounds in the video. I'm going to show Matt those, so he won't respect you as much after I show him the videos.
Okay.
So, anyways, hey, thanks for coming on. Good catching up.
Yeah.
I would, if I ever make it out to North or South Carolina, I would love to come and visit.
Yep.
And ride your trails, and same goes if you show up out here. I've got a Husaberg 570 with your name on it.
Yeah.
So maybe a 650 if I get this thing put back together. So everybody, thanks for joining in. Thanks for enjoying our show. I'd like to thank Double Take Mirrors, Bulletproof Design, Seat Concepts, Fasst Company, Trail Tech, DDC, Climb, Scott Sports, Moto, and of course Yamaha. Did they give us a read yet?
No.
We don't have a read?
We were trying to track down some more important stuff.
Okay, yeah, like checks. Yeah, that's all good.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get a read, but they do have a commercial on the show. Hey, Spencer, good to see you, and next time we will see you out in the trail. Cheers.
Okay.